Hello everyone, welcome to the BSGN podcast. I'm Jane.
I'm Jane.
I'm Inkiru.
And I'm Anya.
And we're the Sister Circle.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. And we are discussing role models. What does a role model actually look like? What does it look like in today's society? Is it slightly different to what we grew up with? We want to really delve into whether we actually even have role models. Is that a taboo word or is it, natural? Because how else do we kind of, model ourselves? So tell me, Anya, what does a role model look like to you?
I'm not glad you came to me first because when we decided this topic, I was the one who said, I don't believe in role models. I don't have any role models. And then God humbled me the following day. I actually was really thinking about like, who are my role models and who are the people that I admire, somewhat look up to and draw kind of example from. And when I was thinking about it, there's not really many people in the public eye. I try to surround myself with women that are role models to me. So when I think about my friends and my circle, and in particular you ladies 100% are my role models. There are things that I learn from each and every one of you about how to better myself. And I've really realized that with us coming together. So it was weird. So I remember I was sitting in my car, I was like, I don't have any. God humbled me. So for example, Nick, the way you treat yourself is something that I've really learned a lot. I don't even mean to make you cry, but I think it's important that I give you guys your flowers, right? The way you treat yourself is amazing, and it's something that I'm trying to adopt. See, I'm not, but you're always in the back of my mind. Self-care. Jane, the way you are with your business and your family and the balance. Your balance is amazing and your drive is phenomenal. And exactly the same for you as well, Jane. Like your drive, the two of you inspire me in terms... You also, Nick. There's other aspects of your life.
So I just look after myself?
No, not that at all. No, but it's also balance. When you think about it, it's also balance.
It's the best form, Anya. Honestly,
form of balance.
You're the same in the way that obviously, Max is of age and people would be like, oh yeah, job done. You're like, no, this is my family. These are my children. This is going to be my baby.
He's my priority.
Even
100%.
Asia, like all of it. But everything is so principled with you, which I think is such a beautiful thing. Like, I value, it's so principled. I just love that about you. I've always told you I love your spirit. But the craziest thing is, this is mad. On the way here today, I was thinking, with our network, we need to resemble that network that just cheerleads each other, that champions each other. When you just opened your mouth, started talking, I was like, God, are you for real? Honestly, that's exactly what you just started doing, cheerleading each other. We need to do that more in our community. And then you just done it.
Yeah, but again, this is the reason why, I don't know if it's purposeful, the women that I've aligned myself with, but I like to learn from every single woman in here. You are the reasons, all three of you, why I've made, obviously, the big, bold step that I've recently made. I'm not going to put it on air, but it's because each and every single one of you, and lots of different things have happened in my life because of you ladies. So for the for the person that said she has no role models, humble.
Oh, I love you.
I love that.
Thank you. That is so lovely.
It
Okay,
really
my
is.
turn.
Oh
my God, that is so lovely. Oh, and unexpected. That is so nice. Thank you, Anya.
Right, next, I'm going to ask you though, what is a role model? Like, how do we define a role model?
So I think initially when I think about my first role model or someone I looked up to. So a role model for me now is someone that you would model certain aspects of yourself or on, so to speak. So if you like something about someone or what they're doing, then you were like, I enjoy that. I'm going to model that part. For example, motherhood. Like I've got friends who see me and how I've raised the boys and I like that. I like the fact that you take them everywhere. You're my role model and I'm going to model that aspect of what you do in my life when I have my own children, because I enjoy the fact that you are free and you move around with your kids and you expose them to different things, and I enjoy that. So there's something about a characteristic or a performance or a attribute of a person that you like and you want to then model in your own life. That's, to me, what a definition of a role model is. However, when I think about my first role models, that's not what that's what drew me to them.
Okay,
There wasn't, and mine was Judge Judy. I love it.
That's really good. Yeah.
What's she mean?
Yeah, I know, and I love that. No, do you know why I love
straight
that?
talking.
Straight talking, and she just
she's funny.
exudes power and control.
Yeah.
And early on in my undergrad years, as a lawyer as well, I just thought, oh my God, this woman she didn't take any rubbish from anybody. And I just thought, oh my God, that I didn't know whether, so I looked at her as a role model and I thought she's a judge, she's of a certain standing in life, she's a
lot to
woman.
look up to,
And I liked that about her, and I used to be obsessed with watching her programs. Like that was used to be my thing. And she's funny, and the way she used to shut people down. But it wasn't because, so for me now, with the explanation I've just given, there wasn't anything in where I want to be like that. So I didn't have that feeling of I want to be her, so to speak. I just liked who she was, what she represented, and I was drawn to that. So, and I've always said to myself, I'd never want to meet her, because I don't want that to be
that image of her.
And that's how I know she was.
And that's the reality, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's...
For me, very similar to Anya, I remember as a young girl, I've always been like a sponge. So even though I was young, I've always had an old spirit. So I'm very much, I surround myself with more matured women than myself, because I always want to learn something from people I'm around. And even though, I mean, I learned things from younger people around me as well, my sister, my friends, my children, I learned a lot from them as well. But I've always, you know, aspired and put myself in positions to be around people doing better than me. I feel like, what's the benefit of me being around people that
look up to you?
Well, not even that, but I mean, I want to be around people doing better than me, because that's what you're meant to do. You're meant to try and aspire for greater things, because you've seen it. And I feel like there's a transference as well when you're around greatness. It imparts on you. There's an impartation, right?
Definitely.
So very much. But me personally, I mean, I'm not going to refer to the Oprahs and the Michelle Obamas, even though they are phenomenal trailblazers and they've done a lot for people. But for me, I'm inspired by women who just steward their gifts, whether that's your children, whether that's your marriage, whether that's your business, whether that's, you know, your parents, whatever God has said, this is what I want you to take care of. And you've done that, and you've done it to an excellent standard, and you've created opportunities for others. That to me is somebody I'm inspired by. And I meet people like this all the time, whether I'm in the supermarket or my team who, you know, some of them have like 6 children and they're single mothers, you know, or I meet people on the train who share their story, and I could be so touched and take something, an element of strength or perseverance or something from them. You know, I'm inspired by so many different types of people. So I mean, I wouldn't say they're my role models per se. I'll say, if I say a role model, then it will have to be my mum. Because I watched my mum, you know, she was my first example of what a hardworking woman who loved her children and wanted to give her children so much was. And I've modeled my life on my mum. And I realized when I had my daughter and I was doing my master's, and I was thinking, how am I able to work, do a master's and look after my daughter? Well, I know why. Mummy did it. You know, mummy. I mean, it's innate. I've seen it. You know. So she held down her job. She held down her family. She held down her children, and we always had to look immaculate. You know, my mum would never allow us to look like what we were going through. That wasn't it. And even though some people will now say, "Oh, yeah, that's a bit traumatic," no, it wasn't traumatic. No, it was good in the sense that we handle what's going on at home, inside, and outside. We present, you know, an image which is excellence. And that's what I expect from my children, my team, my family, anyone that's around me. Even if you're going through a tough season, you will know that I believe in you, and I want you to do well, and I want you to be the best version of yourself. And that's what that's translated to me. So so if anything, my mum was my role model. My sisters, any woman that's great in who God has made her to be is my role model.
You know, you touched on something there, and it links back to our previous episode in terms of accountability. I think one thing that we should all recognise when it comes to accountability as well is that we are role models. So you mentioned in terms of your mum, and that has passed down to you because she was your role model, and that means that you have to be, or we have to be accountable because we are role models to so many other people.
100%,
and so it's
100%.
understanding the position,
The responsibility.
that you have. And we were talking about leadership in terms of work, but leadership in terms of as being a mother or being a friend. Like there's people are going to be learning and learning from you, and it's so important that we hold ourselves to account and recognize that we are role models.
And I remember when in the last episode I mentioned about see one, do one, teach one. For me, the scariest thing of being a mum is that my child is going to be what I basically impart on them. It's what you feel them. I think
emulate.
that amount of doubt, that is scary. Like I'm like, okay, I don't want to mess this up. How am I going to ensure that I'm going to do it to the best of my ability so they get everything they could possibly need? It's terrifying.
Even your sons will marry women like you.
We hope. We hope.
I don't know. No. I don't want my son to marry anyone like me, boy. Give me a pepper. No. Imagine. Please. I'm already dealing with my daughter who's similar to me, and I don't know what to do. I'm like, God, do. So listen. For me though, growing up, ironically, again, role models. Like I never really. Sounds so crazy, and it's not because I'm self-righteous. It's just that I've never really paid much attention to idols or famous people. I don't know enough about them. I maybe just about know people's names, but it's sad. I know they're influential. I know they're powerful. I know they've done a significant amount of work and impacted society or the world in many ways, and I appreciate and respect that, but I don't know enough about them in all honesty to then say this is my role model. I want to be this person. The person that I do know, the people I do know are my parents. So for me growing up, my role model, my instant role model, even my superhero at one time was my dad. And I always just wanted to be like him. And actually there were attributes of him that I didn't want, but that was just, it's innate in you. So, but I just knew my dad knew how to make something from nothing. Like he had nothing. He didn't even have a house. Do you know what I mean? Him and his mum, I remember him telling me that the rain was so bad in Nigeria, it washed his house away. Wow. And him and his mum lived under a tree for about a week. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, like we had nothing. I didn't even have pants. Like they were piss poor. But to see everything created from that, I'm just like, what would you mean? He was like, yeah, because I used to say to myself, I'm going to go to London. And everyone say, Mr. London, when are you going to London then? Mr. London. He said from when he was 9, he'd work in, they used to send him inside a freezer because he could tolerate cold. And whereas nobody else could in Nigeria, obviously it's hot. And he'd go and do all the fishing and stuff and put in the freezer. And he'd say, yeah, I can tolerate cold because I know in London it's cold. So he's call him Mr. London. So I think what happened when he got a bit older, everyone pulled money together and they sent him to London.
That's nice.
And when he went, like the amount of effort and work and sweat my dad has put into, like since then, like, started his own law firm. He's been knighted, he's a phenomenal man. He's done so much for his community. He's worked in the Nigerian government. He works in the Nigerian government now, but everything he does is selfless. Like he doesn't care if he has clothes on his back. He just wants to pour into as many people as he can. And growing up for me, I just looked at, this man can create anything. And I was like, I need to be able to do that.
And that is you though, isn't it?
That is probably me. And that's probably why people don't understand. I'm obsessed with business. I'm obsessed with like creating things. And I'm an engineer because I want to start from scratch and create something. There are times I tell myself, that voice in your head and you're just like, why are you stressing? I beg, relax. But I'm like, no, because God has given you this ability. He's given you the role model. He's shown you it's possible. So why not? Make it happen. So that's why I'm like constantly like, let me create something. And I think it's in me because I saw my dad doing it growing up. But that's not to say my mum wasn't my role model as well. But then there are certain elements of her I look at now only as an adult and I'm like you said, how are you doing all this? Working with children, studying. I still remember I used to help my mum type up her essays back in the day.
Same. Hand dissertation.
That's crazy. And then we're now living that life. We're doing that. And we wouldn't have known how to do it if we didn't have those role models, if we weren't inspired. And for me, like inspiration is what, maybe not what all role models have, but for me to feel that someone's a role model, I need to be inspired by them. And then equally what you were saying earlier about looking within our group, there's so many people around us. I try and surround myself with people that are doing things that actually I want to aspire to do. I want to learn from these people. I might have people that look up to me and they say, oh, how do you do this thing? Fine, that's amazing. I'll tell you how. So we can be on par. But I want to learn from you. And the things that I love to learn from people is how to love. Because growing up, how I grew up, my dad was very much business. We have a business relationship, but we don't have a loving relationship. And ironically, today when I was talking to my sister,
podcast topic on itself, isn't it?
oh, here we go. Yeah.
African love. African love.
So when I see someone that shows love, I'm like, I want to aspire to be that. When I see someone that can speak in a certain tempo, I want to learn to aspire to speak like that. Because it just demonstrates love to me. It demonstrates peace and
gentleness.
And I'm like, I think God's called me to do that. And that's the thing I need to learn. I think that's the icing on the cake for me. I'm like, okay, yeah, you can do all these skills, but can you communicate? Can you make people feel comfortable around you? Can you inspire them? Do people want to, they don't want to be like you if you're roaring like a shark, but then you've got 10 degrees, you know? And growing up, I had so much anger built up in me. I felt like, am I that person that just sounds like all the time? So in my head, I felt like that's how I felt. So when I see somebody that demonstrates that, and I get that from you, Anya. So I'm so inspired by the love you give off, honestly. Like, yeah. So for me, like,
the most powerful thing.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
honestly,
important.
as cheese as it is.
Right.
Yeah,
So what does today's role model look like, and where can we, like, honestly, let's say, are the role models that people are really looking up to, especially our like younger generations, you know, are they really, or can they hold themselves accountable for some of their actions? Do they understand the implications of some of their actions?
You know what? I think it's really important. You touched on it, and you also touched on it as well. And this is why I felt the way I did when we first brought up this conversation of role models. I think it's really important to recognize that people are humans. Yeah. And it's about being able to recognize, firstly, that it's not everything in somebody's life that you can draw an example from, and giving people that grace. I think one of the worrying things is that some people idolize, or they see this person, they assume they're holier than thou, and then, like what you said, they meet them and the mask falls off. So I think it's really important for young people to firstly give people grace, and I think that's something that's been really missing in the young people's generation with this cancel culture, people getting cancelled left, right and centre. It's really important to recognise people are humans, people make mistakes, so don't base everything you do on that individual. And that's where it becomes really worrying. But draw influence and parallel and look at how this person's done it, look at their blueprints, and their blueprints might not be the ones that are actually going to work for you, but it's about, similar to what you were saying as well, drawing inspiration from other people, not necessarily just a complete imitation. And I think that's where
inspiration, not imitation.
It can be really dangerous to do that, and also dangerous to not give people grace and to understand, you know what I mean? None of us are perfect.
I think working with young people, I realized that as much as people need to recognize that everyone is human, they need to know who they are themselves. And a lot of people don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. They don't know who they belong to. And if your identity is rooted in the right place, so mine is in my faith, then the wind won't blow and you won't go a different direction. Do you understand? You'll be firmly rooted in what you believe in. And a lot of it is because there's a lot of families that are broken down and people don't have that one example or that nuclear family to pour love into them and affirm them and keep them grounded. So a lot of young people, or a lot of people, don't know who they are, and then they're seeking that in everyone and anything, including what's on social media. And so I think that's the reason why there's a lot of challenges now.
It's sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very sad.
It's sad because what we're seeing in social media, like, you just read comments, and like you said, the grace isn't there. People are just like trolling them, and it's like, what, they can't make a mistake? They can't breathe wrong?
I think aside from that, they think it's funny.
Really?
And that's the disgusting thing about it.
Oh, that's so sad. Like, I remember, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm the biggest fan of Kim Kardashian, but I don't actually have anything against her. She's a businesswoman. She's driven. She's stunning. Everyone will say, but she changed this, she changed that. She wanted to do something. She was intentional. She did it. Was the problem. But unfortunately, people don't see it that way. But have you not noticed, when people are doing well, there's a target on their back?
Definitely.
100%.
That's the only time it comes.
Definitely. People are waiting for, like, bad news travels faster, doesn't it? They're waiting for a downfall.
But what do you do then when your actual role model or somebody that has inspired you does do something really negative? Do you stand by them and say, well, actually, they've done this well? And it's similar to like politics. We're in that current season, aren't we? So how far do you support somebody?
I think it's very, very dangerous to have a role model and put too much reliance on that role model in all aspects of their life.
Exactly.
And I think if you fall into that position whereby something that you see upsets you about their personal life or even their professional life that you don't like, and then you have a choice of whether I'm a diehard fan, so I have to support them irrespective of whether I believe in what it is that they're doing at the moment, you'll find yourself, like Jane just said, actually, depending on what you're rooted in.
Yeah.
So if you don't know who you are, then you'll go with the wind, whatever direction all the time.
Exactly.
You know, it doesn't take much to move you. And if you can be moved so easily, then everything is going to affect you.
Exactly.
Everything you hear, whether it be something horrific or whether it be something really subtle, like not paying your taxes. But I thought he or she was a great person. It doesn't have to be something so damaging in regards to like domestic violence and stuff like that. It can be something as small as that. Or, for example, how, you know, I know with Kevin Hart over the years, they've got onto him about like homophobic words he's used previously. And then when that comes out, it's like, oh my God, he's not the person I thought he was. And he's no longer who I thought he was. And I just feel like that's really dangerous in order to live your life like that. I think it's great to have representation, 100%, especially within the Black community. It's really important for us to see ourselves in different positions.
Exactly,
and
Thriving, doing well, successful.
Yeah, all of these things are so important, especially for young people. But you have to be able to sift through. And like Anya said, like we've all said, basically, be able to give grace, know that these people are fallible. Do you get what I mean? And also understand that, yes, although I aspire to be in their position, I don't aspire to be them. Because being them could be mental health issues. Being them could be depression. Being them could be debt. You know, being
Addiction.
them could be addiction. So many different things. So when you see someone that you like and you aspire to be that person in that particular position, then that's fine. I think that's great. I think especially where you lack those home role models, because we're fortunate enough to have people that we can talk about in our upbringing. But some people are not like that. Some people don't have that. Some people are in situations where there is no near role model for them to turn around and say, actually, I want to model
This is
myself
how
on
they,
this. And then they look out externally for outside sources, and then you put so much hope into that outside source that if they do something, it's going to be devastating naturally, you know. So
I mean, for me, I just see anyone you're inspired by, or I just see it as a Pinterest board.
okay, yeah,
I like, it's that simple.
For me, it's that, because don't forget, it's not real life.
Yeah.
It's a created version of what they want you to see. So just like Instagram, you scroll, you take inspiration, you close the app. Pinterest, very much the same way. You know, you have to think, what does my life feel like? You know, I know what that person's life looks like, but what does my life feel like? And, you know, trying to make that parallel. So it might look glossy, it might look fantastic, but you don't know what that person's contending with. So you really shouldn't admire or be that inspired by someone to the point that you lose sight of reality. And that's very, very important. I do try and, you know, convey that to my daughter, who's a teenager, and my sons as well, who are a bit younger, that, you know, they see these multimillionaire YouTubers and gamers, and I'm like, don't forget, you still need to study, you know, all these things are great. They're driving these amazing cars, but this is your life. It's separate for that. You could draw inspiration, but this is your reality, you know?
Yeah, exactly, with that as well. Like, basically, people need to understand there's a process. It didn't happen overnight for that person. You need to rewind and go back to when they were just wearing odd socks because they didn't afford to buy a new pair. Listen, it's all a process. It's a journey. So unless you're prepared to put in that work, jump on that journey. You know, don't watch them too hard.
And I think that's why our network is so important, because representation, being out there for young women, Black women in particular, to see actually that it can be done.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see me, I don't want you to think, oh my God, I want to be her, but I want you to be able to say,
It's possible.
It's possible.
Yes, yes.
It's possible to be in
and
that
that's
position.
the hope side of it. So when you said love, I then
Yeah.
said hope, because and that inspiration.
Yeah.
When you can see it, it's like it's real.
It's
It becomes
tangible.
real. Yeah,
It's
it becomes
tangible.
real. I can actually have this.
And don't you feel like that's one of the reasons why breaking the concrete ceiling is so important? Like the events that we do and we put on in order for our members to see representation and
Have access, actually.
have access. Yeah.
And
what
also for us as well. So our events, every single one has inspired me and left a
mark.
It's
Yeah.
left a mark on me. The women that I meet at our events inspire me. I'm hoping as much as I inspire them as well. So
Yeah.
I don't get to have that in my everyday life, to be surrounded by amazing Black women, except for our calls and our meetings, but I mean in person. I don't get to have that. So it gives me a new kind of lease of life, energy, invigorates me, it makes me ready to go. So it's really important to surround yourself with women that are going to inspire you, definitely.
Like-minded, definitely, is very important.
Yeah.
And to feel supported, because this is a journey. It's a long road, but you don't have to do it alone.
No.
That's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so that's been role modeling. So we've talked about why find a role model, being inspired, finding hope, but then do your due diligence, give that person grace. Just understand that they are human. They might take the wrong turn, but it's not for us to judge, God didn't call us to judge. We're all humans. But anyway, join us, the Brown Skin Girls Network, for the next episode where we're going to be talking about mum guilt. We've all got it. We've all got it. We've all got it. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Hi, welcome to the Brown Skin Girls Network podcast. You're here with the Sister Circle, and I'm Nkiru.
And I'm Jane.
I'm Anya.
And I'm Jane.
So today you guys are joining the Brown Skin Girls Network for episode 11. We are today going to discuss accountability. We're touching on everything about the mindset of being accountable. Ready, steady, go. How do you get yourself prepared? What kind of things do you need to just line up, just have lined up, ready to be accountable, to really take that step? And then what kind of challenges, are we likely to face when we're actually, trying to be accountable? We're actually trying to be intentional with a lot of our plans. So we're going to really just delve into it. Firstly, what does it look like? What kind of mindset do you need to have in order to be accountable?
Well, it's nice to be on video, by the way, guys. This is a change. So just wanted to break the ice a little bit.
Put our lip gloss on for you guys.
Yeah, we have. We've got dressed up and ready to come here. First episode being videoed. But what does it mean to be accountable and to be ready? For me, the two go hand in hand. If you want to be ready, you really need to be accountable, which means that you have to go through some self-evaluation and understand the strengths and the weaknesses about yourself, and then create a plan and